Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday Eve to you. I'm Rob Evans. Welcome to a Daybreak Plus. We're recapping all the local news you missed overnight, and then we're going deep into the topics that really matter to you. And we begin at the Texas Capitol, where a bill that looks to help boost school safety is headed to the House for consideration. This is the Senate bill, 260, supposed to give more money to the schools, right? Now, back in 2023, House Bill 3 became law, which required every school to have an armed officer on campus. But let's be honest, most school districts could not afford it. They were struggling to pay for their teachers, let alone hire additional staff, right? So this is a Senate Bill 260, and it tries to fix that problem by doubling the money. So the state would give each school district $30,000 per campus instead of $15,000. Here is State Senator Joan Huffman.
The committee sub to Senate Bill 260 reaffirms our commitment to making schools safer for our students and educators by providing additional financial resources so that districts can pursue increased safety measures. And members, as a reminder, a similar...
Now, Senate Bill 260 increases both the per student safety allotment and the total school allotment. The total cost of the bill, in case you're curious, not going to be cheap, $500 million. Well, Austin's police chief is pushing back against the bill to expand DPS enforcement downtown. That is Chief Lisa Davis right there, and she testified against House Bill 470 during a committee hearing yesterday. What this would do, it would extend the boundaries of the Capitol complex south to Lady Bird Lake, and DPS would then have primary law enforcement responsibility, but the city would have to pay for it. Now, the bill's author said he wants to make Congress Avenue safer, but Chief Davis and DPS, Chief Davis said the DPS already has jurisdiction there and they work with APD. Here's Chief Davis, what she has to say.
This happens, you're going to see morale go down for these officers. They are a department from 2020 that is traumatized.
We are not the problem of morale of the police department of the city. Their leadership is, and that's where the argument should be.
Well, Chief Davis said year-to-date violent crime downtown is down 15%. Now, Representative Tepper said property managers, who you heard there, said property managers on Congress are dealing with theft and issues with the unhoused. So again, that's a big issue right there. Whether or not that goes before the full committee, we'll find out. And we are taking a live look at the Texas State Capitol right now. It's 7:03, and a bill aimed to make Texans healthier is heading to the House. Senate Bill 25. I know these are a lot of numbers, but this one's Senate Bill 25. It is a priority for Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Remember, this is 25. The higher the number, the higher the priority. So 25 is pretty high up there, right? So this would require food companies to put warning labels on processed foods that are made with artificial colors, made with food additives, or other chemical ingredients that are banned in other countries. It would also expand PE requirements. It would require nutritional education for all Texas physicians and for medical students. And it would also create a Texas Nutrition Advisory Committee to examine the link between ultra-processed foods and chronic diseases. Now, Senator Kolkor says that SB 25 will help make informed decisions and will curb chronic disease in Texans. And of course, that'll lead to increased life expectancies. Take a listen.
And then it's time that we give this to our loved ones and to every average citizen out there, because we are going to expand the average lifespan of every Texan. Senate Bill 25 is a coming together to make Texas healthier. We will be improving the lives and the health of our people.
They served for lunch today.
That was Senator Luis Kolkoris from Brenham. The Senate also passed SB 314 by Senator Brian Hughes. That would ban a list of additives from food served in the free or reduced school lunch and breakfast programs. All right, let's talk about federal politics right now. President Donald Trump taking on other nations again, talking about foreign reaction to his tariff plans. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I'm not happy with the European Union, I want to tell you. And,
Will you put tariffs on
we're going to
cars?
win that. We're going to win that financial battle.
So here's what's happening. Canada and the European Union are now retaliating against President Trump's steel and aluminum tariffs. But the president, as you heard right there, is not backing down. Take a listen. Zareen Shah has that story.
This morning, major trading partners hitting back at President Trump's increased tariffs on aluminum and steel imports. Overnight, new Canadian tariffs on American products took effect, impacting everything from steel and aluminum to computers and sporting goods. The European Union also vowing to raise tariffs on American beef, bourbon, and motorcycles next month. President Trump not backing down.
I'm not happy with the European Union, I want to tell you. And
on
we're going to
cars?
win that.
It comes after Trump imposed sweeping 25% tariffs on aluminum and steel imports on Wednesday. The European Union then retaliating with tariffs on up to $28 billion of U.S. goods.
Canada is not the one driving up the cost of your groceries or of your gasoline. Canada is not the one that is ultimately starting this war. President Trump's tariffs against you are causing that. And there are no winners in a trade war.
The back and forth causing chaos and uncertainty for consumers and many small business owners, including Jeff Quint, who owns a distillery in Iowa.
The bourbon industry is going to be collateral damage in this tariff war. I don't really think there's any way around that.
And he's not alone. A new CNN SSRS poll shows 61% of Americans disapprove of the president's handling of tariffs, and 56% say they do not approve of how he's handled the economy overall. But the president dismissed those concerns.
On tariffs, there's been a lot of on and off, some inconsistency.
It's not called inconsistency, it's called flexibility.
A majority of Americans polled also felt that Elon Musk does not have the experience or judgment to change how the government works, and that the administration's cuts to the federal government will go too far in cutting key programs. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
And the Trump administration's laying off half of the staff in the Department of Education. These job cuts are leaving some concern about the agency's ability to continue normal operations. The layoffs are going to impact the department's civil rights divisions, and experts say this will all trickle down to the most vulnerable population and their access to education. Now, UT professor David DeMatthew says the Civil Rights Office ensures that kids with disabilities have the chance to get a free, appropriate public education. Here's what he had to say.
I think it's really scary for parents, and it doesn't matter whether you're in Westlake or Lake Travis in one of the wealthiest school districts in the state, or if you're in one of the poorest. Children with the greatest needs that require extra supports and services are going to be most at risk.
Now, the layoffs are just a first step toward President Trump's plan to eliminate the agency altogether. The Secretary of Education says the goal is for money to go to states. One local educator now calls it a dark time, though, in the fight for civil rights. Well, a day after the layoffs in the Education Department, the federal student loan website crashed. StudentAid.gov was down most of Wednesday. It is now back up and running. Those layoffs included IT support staff who maintain the FAFSA system. The Education Department has reduced its staff by about 2,000 people since President Trump took office. All right, it is now 7:09, and it is time to take a look at the weather and traffic. Jordan doing double duty for us today. Jordan, how's it looking?
Well, Rob, good morning to you. And as we take a look outside, this is the Kalahari Resorts Conventions weather camera in Round Rock. And we're looking at temperatures mainly in the upper 50s and lower 60s. The Camp Mabry sensor was down briefly this morning, but now it's back up and kicking. But as we look at our allergy count, maple and alder, they're kicking as well. They're both in the high count. Pine specifically in terms of trees are in the low, but we also have mold in the high, but not a lot in terms of alternaria this morning. We're going to have the hottest day so far of South by for today. It is 91 for a high with that southwesterly breeze in place, but we are tracking tomorrow and Saturday for extreme fire danger because of strong winds and that low humidity. Temperature's not going to matter for Saturday. We're going to have highs in the mid-70s, but still going to have extreme fire danger that could cause some issues, especially in the hill country. So I'm going to say this straight up. Please do not burn anything outside at all. If you do, you are taking a ginormous risk of causing so many issues, especially in the hill country and along I-35. So please review your fire plan and also watch for anything that may cause a spark. Now for Friday, we do have extreme fire weather concerns throughout all of Wilco and even the Austin Metro down to Bobcat Country and San Marcos, in addition to the whole of the hill country. Now, Saturday, we still have very high fire danger in the Austin Metro and most of Wilco, but places like Florence out toward Bartlett, Jarrell in northern Wilco, those areas are under extreme fire weather concerns. Also, San Marcos down toward Luling under extreme fire weather concerns, including the hill country as well. And here's the main culprit of that are those winds. And we could have winds gusting to around 30 miles an hour on Saturday, even 35 miles an hour Friday, I should say. But Saturday, this is the day we're going to watch, and this is why I extended the weather impact alert period through Saturday, because we have gusts getting up to around 40 miles an hour at times, even early Saturday afternoon. With all this in place, we have a fire weather watch from noon to 9 tomorrow for areas along and west of I-35, and I would not be surprised if this got upgraded to a red flag warning, and I'm just saying that straight up. We are going to be in the lower 90s today, just shy of our daily heat record of 92. And as we look at Friday, a little cooler out ahead of that cold front that does move through. It's going to be a dry front, and we're only going to have mid-70s for highs on Saturday, but still the strong winds, especially out of the west, that could be gustier Saturday than Friday. That's why I have that weather impact alert period for your Saturday in addition to Friday. But St. Paddy's Day conditions should slowly improve as we head through your Monday afternoon, lower 80s for that particular period. Now, let's go into your traffic because we've had so many issues pop up. It's 7 a.m. and traffic started to act up this morning. First off, we do have South Austin, one lane blocked and a shoulder blocked due to a vehicle driving on the wrong side of the road on 35 southbound at Slaughter Lane. Pretty serious situation. We're going to continue to watch this very, very closely for you guys in the Bluff Springs area. But we've also got a crash on I-35 southbound near Weta Drive in and around the Wells Branch area. So if you're in the Wells Branch area, something to watch as well. We do have a roadblock due to a crash on 620 from Ranch Road 2222 to 4 Points, right there near Lake Travis, and a couple of accidents, one on Killingsworth Lane at Cameron Road, and then a crash on Cameron Road at Palmer Lane. So that particular area just east of the Dessaw area near Pflugerville, that's where we're starting to have issues, but the crash on near Elon Musk's big old Gigafactory has thankfully cleared. Round Rock, because of that accident, you're down to 34 miles an hour. 290 coming in from Manor, you're down to 38 miles an hour. Buda, you're down to 23 miles an hour from 35 north. So a lot of us are really dragging coming into work on your Friday's Eve, folks. So honestly, if you're a manager, please give your employees some grace. If you don't, I don't know what I'm going to do with you.
All right, thank you very much, Jordan. Appreciate that. South by Southwest course continues. A couple more days, and former First Lady Michelle Obama will be in Austin today. She and her brother Craig Robinson will tape an episode of their podcast. It's going to be at the Austin Convention Center at 1 p.m. All right, it's getting warmer outside now, right? Nothing quite like seeing those beautiful monarch butterflies spread their wings and glide through the air. They make a stop here in Central Texas, and it's so cool to watch. It provides a sense of calm, if you will. It just takes the stresses all away. But the monarch butterfly population is dwindling. It's just a small fraction of what it was decades ago. And as Yvonne Nava shows us, one Central Texas city is trying to make its mission to preserve the monarch. Take a look.
They're instantly recognizable with their striking orange and black colors. You know, a single monarch butterfly can travel thousands of miles.
And it comes up in generations. One butterfly comes just so far, and then it will stop to reproduce. And then the offspring from that monarch will emerge from the chrysalis and then become an adult and then head north.
North towards the Canadian border. The monarch butterflies migrate through Texas twice a year in the spring and fall on their way to and from Mexico.
Leander's right in the middle of their flyway.
Bill Teeter, the city's conservation programs coordinator, says the monarchs start arriving at exactly this time of year, in early March, looking for milkweed plants like these to lay their eggs. But in order for this to happen, we've got to protect the monarchs. And the city of Leander vowed to help.
Well, we joined the Mayor's Monarch Pledge, which is an effort by the National Wildlife Federation to support the monarch butterfly.
Part of that support can be spotted along Ronald Reagan Boulevard. There are 8 signs up and down the 6-mile stretch, which just went up last week, explaining why Leander is delaying mowing there until June.
Those are areas where that milkweed is commonly grows. So monarchs, again, they only reproduce on the milkweed. They need it to lay their eggs.
Teeter hopes you take the same precaution in your yard as well.
Mow around the milkweed if you've got it on your property.
Other things we can do to help the monarchs include adding bright nectar plants like lantanas to your gardens and limiting the use of herbicides and pesticides.
You know, I think everybody learned about the monarch when they were kids in school. It would be a shame if we didn't have them around anymore.
In Leander, Yvonne Nava, KVUE News.
They are beautiful, beautiful bugs, insects for sure. Well, the clock is ticking for Texans to update their driver's license. You have less than 2 months to get what's known as the Real ID. Now, this deadline, has been pushed back several times, and you might have some questions about what happens if you miss another deadline, which is May the 7th. Well, here we go. Megan Bragg with our news partner in Charlotte has more this morning's Verify.
Many people are wondering what will happen if they don't get a Real ID in time. So let's verify.
Our sources, the Department of Homeland Security, TSA, and the North Carolina Department of Motor Vehicles. So let's take a look at our first question. Do you need a Real ID in order to fly? According to the Department of Homeland Security, travelers using a license to fly must present a Real ID by May 7th, or they will not be allowed through security. However, according to the TSA, a passport, photo ID issued by a federal organization, permanent resident card, U.S. Department of Defense ID will work. The next question, if you get pulled over and don't have a Real ID and only a regular driver's license, will you get a ticket? In an email, the DMV told us Real IDs are for federal purposes only, like flying or visiting a federal, military, or nuclear facility. So you don't need a Real ID just to drive. And finally, do you still need a passport if you have a Real ID and are traveling internationally? According to Homeland Security, if you are traveling internationally, you will still need your passport. This includes both flying and sailing on cruises. If you are traveling domestically, you will only need one of those documents. So we can verify that, yes, you need your passport if you are traveling internationally. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
This team needs a couple more minutes here, wrapping up this.
Well, I'll tell you what, if 2 astronauts have a delay on their Real ID, they've got a reason, because a mission to rescue 2 NASA astronauts that have been stuck in space for months hit another snag overnight. SpaceX had to delay the flight to the International Space Station because of a problem with the launch pad. Now, the 4-man SpaceX crew you just saw there needs to get to the ISS to replace those 2, Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams. They have been stuck in space for 9 months. Now, I don't know if you've been following this, but their mission was only supposed to be 1 week. 1 week. They've been up there 9 months. But NASA didn't want them to return on the Boeing Starliner capsule that they arrived on. They're having issues with it. SpaceX plans to launch again as early as this Friday. But could you imagine if, I'm not sure if they're married or not, but baby, I'll be back in a week. 9 months later, they are still trying to get those 2 astronauts back home. All right, time now for our deep dive. And later this year, dozens of affordable brand new homes will be built in 1 week as part of the Jimmy and Rosalind Carter Work Project. I sat down with the Habitat for Humanity International CEO, Jonathan Reckford, to find out why they chose to do this gigantic event right here in Central Texas and what this build can mean for you. Take a listen.
The reason we picked Austin is it's a perfect example of what's happening across the country, where housing prices have accelerated so much faster than income. So it's really exacerbating our affordable housing crisis. And Austin is such a dynamic and vibrant community, and it's an example of a historically affordable community that's no longer affordable.
For people that don't know much about the work project, though, this is like the Olympics kind of. This is huge.
It is. So this is Habitat for Humanity's signature event, and most people think President Carter started Habitat and ran it. That's actually not true. Habitat was started in 1976, but the world found out about Habitat in 1984 when President and Mrs. Carter first got involved locally in Georgia, and then famously rode a bus up from South Georgia to New York City, spent a week sleeping in a church basement and rehabbing a tenement building on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And no one had ever seen a former president of the United States behaving that way, and that really put Habitat on the map and started this extraordinary 35-year run where every year the Carters would go somewhere in the world to bring attention to the need for safe, decent, affordable housing. And obviously bittersweet this year, tragically, we will not have the Carters, of course, but we really believe the best way to honor and continue their legacy is to keep the work going.
And you worked alongside of him. I watched some of your interviews with him, and he was a guy you don't think is a politician because he wanted to have the hammer in his hand, not the camera. You know, it was so different, and I love that. Explain it to the people at home what it was like working alongside him for so long.
Well, it's certainly one of the great privileges of my life to get to spend a week with him for much of 16 years, and before COVID was the only thing that finally stopped him from building. But for President Carter had a legendary work ethic, and for him it was all about the families and all about getting the work done. And so, you know, we have celebrities or politicians who want to come out, get the photo op, and be gone. President Carter couldn't have been more different. In fact, he would always say on the first day he would give a devotion, and then he would say at the end, now let's be clear, we're here to work. And so if you come up and ask for a picture, you're not working, I'm not working, and the person holding the camera is not working. So at the end of the week, we'll do pictures, but this is about creating those homes for the families that are going to buy them. And I think he loved building. He was a skilled carpenter. But what he would say over and over again is that Habitat for Humanity was the best way he knew to put his faith into action in a very tangible way. And that he always felt, and I think that's the not so secret, beautiful part of volunteering, he always felt like he got more out of getting to volunteer than anything that he was able to give.
I've been doing Habitat for more than a decade. I'm nowhere near as long as you, but every person I've ever talked to who I worked through the day with says the same thing. We got so much more. And when you see the families, I mean, talk about that at the end when these people just, I have chills right now just thinking about what it's like to see all the families.
Well, that's when it really becomes real. And I think it's the, you know, the personal connection and the feeling of community out on the build site. And the Carter build is like every other Habitat build, just bigger. And so it's kind of a regular Habitat build, but on steroids. And a friend of mine called it the music of 1,000 hammers. There's something when you have 1,000 volunteers out together building every day that is just creates an energy level. But it still comes back to the same, that group of families that are going to have the opportunity to purchase their home. They're going to have the chance to build an intergenerational asset. They can create financial stability and create a stable environment for their children to grow and thrive. It's all the same things we all want for our families. And I think, you know, President Carter would say at the end of the week he would sign a Bible and go and greet each individual family, and he would always end up in tears, and they'd end up in tears, and I think, you know, that's when it becomes real for everybody.
It's generational change too. I mean, this is building wealth generationally, and that's so important when you're getting a family who hasn't had anything, and you can finally give them something to hand down too.
Well, it's so important, and when you look at the way in this country particularly people have gotten into the middle class, for most, the opportunity to create that long-term savings through home ownership is the way that people have been able to build that intergenerational asset. That then creates the opportunity to help your children with down payments or be able to help them go to college without a lot of debt. And it really is that springboard up. And so the urgency we're feeling now is that opportunity is just so far away for such a large swath of our population. And we need more of every kind of housing. So we are pro all forms of housing, but our particular niche is affordable home ownership, because that does create a benefit not just for the family, but for the community. We find communities with a higher ratio of home ownership perform better on almost every possible statistic.
Because you care when you own doing it, when you have a hand in it, literally, you care more. There are a lot of people that I talk to about Habitat that don't understand that these people aren't getting a home. They still have to buy it. They still have to, they still have to take care of it. Explain that to the people who don't understand.
Yeah, thank you for raising that, because the other great myth, other than President Carter starting it, is that we give away the homes. And I think when people understand how it works, and these are families who are already working incredibly hard to take care of their families, and on top of that then, the core criteria to partner with Habitat is that first you have to be at an income level where you wouldn't be able to get a traditional bank mortgage, but second, you actually have to clean up your credit, take classes in home management, and then literally help build your home and your neighbors' homes. And in that process, these families are both financially prepared, but also they really know how to take care of these houses. And that's why, even though technically we are a subprime lender, and I'm sorry, I left out a very important part, they pay back an affordable mortgage, but on terms that they can afford on a reasonable percent of their income. And that's why, even though we are a subprime lender, our foreclosure rates are actually way below that of the market, because these families are incredibly well prepared and they have put so much into those homes.
And you guys take care of all the training, right? I mean, you walked them through this, right? The financial training?
We do, and we think it's really important. I found over my life that people across all incomes don't necessarily have great financial training, but there is, I think, and I've talked to so many families where the discipline of cleaning up their credit, getting prepared for home ownership, created practices and that bode them, help them in sort of all aspects of their life, in addition to the ability to build equity through their home.
So let's talk about the work project, because you said 1,000 hammers. How many people are really on this job site, to wrap your mind around how big it is?
So we'll be building 25 homes at Whisper Valley as part of a much bigger, this is going to be a huge mixed income project, and ultimately 250 Habitat homes. So it'll be the beginning of that. So on any given day, I should know that answer, but I think we'll have close to 1,000 people coming out, because you'll have roughly 30 people working on each home. Then you've got all the volunteers who help make the whole project work, that are feeding people, caring for people, keeping them safe. We have volunteers who've come for years and years who are doctors, and they volunteer their time to come on site. Now, we hope they're really bored.
Not needed. Not needed.
Yeah. But it's amazing that they come out as well. So it's quite a machine to make it all happen. But what you'll see when you experiencing our 25 homes that are getting specifically built that week.
We hope they're not needed, but thank you for the doctors who do come out, because I've needed a few. You've probably seen me with some bandages all over my hands coming back from the site. You work with your hands, you're going to get injured, but such a cool thing. And I sat down with the Austin Habitat CEO, Michelle Anderson, to get her reaction to this massive news. And again, this is the Olympics of home building, international event, right? Not just in the U.S. About her reaction, number one, and about your chance to own a Habitat home. Take a listen.
Complete excitement. So we have never hosted the Carter Work Project, and we're a smaller Habitat, but we're mighty. So last week we just had a press release that said you can pre-apply for the homes that we'll be building in Carter Work Project. Our goal is to have all of the families identified by the time we start the Carter Work Project, so they can be involved in the building of their home and the excitement of being part of the Carter Work Project. The biggest challenge that we've tried to overcome is we're providing workforce housing. So people that are working hard every day, doing everything right, but are placed out of the Austin market. So people, for a family of four, $63,000 to $97,000.
$97,000 is a lot.
Right, qualifies you for a Habitat home in the greater Austin area. Many of our homes appraise at $450,000. Wow. We even had several that appraised for over $600,000. But we sell these homes for under $250,000.
Under $250,000. So again, you can make up to $97,000 as a family of four. These are fantastic houses, very well built, I should say. So if you can go to the website, please do. It'll take you a second to see whether you can qualify, and you'll be surprised. And they are still looking for people, literally looking for people who want to move into one of these incredible homes that have not yet been built. Brand new home, you and your family, generational change. What are you waiting for? even if your credit isn't great, they're going to help you walk through it. If you've got, a job and you've got a passion, please do this. This will change your world. Love, love, love to be a part of this. And thank you to Austin Habitat as well for all that they have done and for their time. We appreciate that. Okay, we now leave you with one more thing to talk about: the total lunar eclipse tonight. Austinites are in for a celestial treat. There's going to be a total lunar eclipse. The Earth will eventually end up directly in between the sun and the moon, casting a shadow on the face of the lunar surface, and it will cause a rare blood moon in the evening sky. Now, when the Earth is in front of the moon, light passes through our atmosphere, which scatters our light and makes the moon appear a reddish orange. Just like the sun is not really yellow, you can only see the sun when it's down, towards sunset or sunrise, and that's when it's going through our atmosphere. Use that one later on, and your kids will be shocked. You're like, no, the sun's yellow. No, it's white. Now, you don't need anything special, no glasses or anything to look at this safely at the lunar eclipse. It's just going to be pretty. So get on out there and enjoy it. All right, that's it for Daybreak Plus, everybody. Let us know what you would like to talk about. Message us at 512-459-9442, 512-459-9442. And hey, if you were watching yesterday, and we talked about the South by Southwest video, the movie about are extraterrestrials real, aliens real, text me on that because we want to talk about that tomorrow. We need more comments. Okay, you can also message me on Instagram, Facebook, X, at Rob Evans TV. And stick around because Daybreak continues right here on KVUE Plus. Goodbye, everybody.